Howdy folks, welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at 7 different games and giving you quick reviews of each of them. They're very different, these games, so buckle up. First, we're going to take a look at the Barracks Emperor. So this is from GMT. GMT is best known for their war games. This is not a war game. This is almost akin to a trick-taking game, except it's on a board. That's a little confusing, but what you're doing is you're trying to control various emperors. Let me show you. In this game, players are trying to capture emperors. There are control emperors, and each emperor, you'll notice they're placed out here, and there's going to be 3 rounds of this placement. There's blue, red, and yellow, and if each one of them that you have is worth a point, but each set that you have, as shown by this picture in the rule book, is worth an additional 3 points. You're also going to get points if you manage to take out barbarians. So what players are doing is they're on their turn, they're going to be playing a card. But you'll notice on each of these emperors, and all this stuff here in the middle doesn't matter, there are 4 symbols. I'm going to sit on the side of the table that matches my symbol, so maybe I'm swords. So if I'm a sword player, when I play cards, I'm trying to play them on the sword card side of a card. But if I play this 7 here, it's also touching this card for that player and touching this side for that player over there. The thing is, once a card is completely surrounded, once an emperor is completely surrounded, you are going to evaluate it. Cards that are the same number cancel each other out. And then the highest number that's left of the color of the emperor will win it. And if there is none, then just the highest, any number, will take it. If it's completely surrounded by barbarians, and there's ways to move these barbarians around and do things, the emperor is destroyed. And every time you play a card, there's special things here. I can play this card to any open space that's adjacent to an emperor, not just in one that has my symbol on the side of it. This one I can discard another populous influence card already played on the board. Not only that, the number you play determines what card you'll draw. The cards in the form here are arranged from highest to lowest, and if I play a low card, I can take from here. If I play a high card, I might have fewer options to take. So you'll play a card, draw a card, the emperors will slowly be removed from the board, and eventually you'll go to round 2 and round 3, and at the end of the 3rd round, you're adding up all your emperors, and whoever has the most points wins. So there's a couple problems with this game. 1, not the box, but the board and the cards, they're ugly. 2, there's a lot of text on those cards, and it's really hard to see sometimes when a card does something, that some of those cards matter when they're played on the board. And 3, it's simply too long. At 3 rounds, it's just way too long. It should have been a 2-round game. That being said, there are some clever ideas. I like the idea of placing a card and it affecting, I'm putting this red card next to this thing so I can control it, but I'm also helping the other players depending on where I place it. There's some neat things you can do by moving barbarians around on the board. There's some fun, clever card play. I like if you play a low card, you get to take a high card. If you play a high card, you're probably going to take a low card into your hand. There's a lot of cool aspects of the game. They're just marred by those problems I said, which makes me give this one only a 6 out of 10. A lot of it I would have liked other than that. The theme also is barely there, right? You're controlling emperors and barbarians, but it is a big card game. So it's a nice idea, some neat things going on in this, but I'm not really sure who it's for. A lot of people are going to walk right by the box because they see this war cover to it, and a lot of war gamers are going to be disappointed because there's just not what you're kind of looking for in this game. So it's kind of a mishmash of stuff, and I don't know necessarily that the target audience is going to be really there for it. I found it to be an okay playthrough. Like I said, I think 2 rounds will be much better than 3, but that's about it for the Barracks Emperor. Let's take a look now at Logical Road Builder. So this, unfortunately, this box, this looks like something you would get at Big Lots or some, discount store. Maybe that's what it is. But you know those wind-up toys? They're really annoying. You pull them back, click, let them go. Well, this is a puzzle for kids with one of those toys inside, and it actually works well. Let me show you. This is a puzzle-style game. You're going to put these boards together, which kind of snap together, and then you'll have some pieces. The book will give you a sort of puzzle. You have a starting spot and ending spot, and you'll be adding pieces, trying to figure out the best way to get it from the beginning to the end. When you're done, you'll pull back this little starting pair, put it in the starting spot, watch it go around, and it drops the ball in the end if you build it correctly. The puzzles are not particularly difficult at all. It's for kids. There are basically 3 types of shapes. You have this somewhat of a wide turn here, a more sharp turn, and then straightaways. And that's how you play the game. Now you have to realize that this is for very young children. We're talking like, it says here 3+, and that's what it is, 3, 4, 5. The puzzles are super easy. But I don't dislike that. I think the whole thing works well. For younger kids, if you have younger kids and they like pulling those cards back, give them this. Increase those brain cells. Yes, the puzzles aren't that difficult. And even if you don't want to do the puzzles, you can just build little paths and just drive this thing around the thing like I showed you in the picture there. So that can be a lot of fun for kids. So for kids, I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. Everything Ever. This is a party style game where it says you've been preparing for your whole life. I don't think that's true. But this is the kind of game where you're going to try to tell every breakfast cereal that you can think of or every fruit. Let me show you. There's a huge deck of cards included with the game, but you're only going to use a small deck depending on the number of players. Each player will have 3 cards in their hand. You'll turn over the top 2 cards of the deck. Then you need to say something that matches both of these. Like, for example, every kind of hat, a fedora, and every famous boat or ship, Titanic. Then it goes to the next person who has to do the same thing. You have about 10 seconds to do this. Players can count you down. So maybe the next person says cowboy hat, and then the Lusitania. And you keep going. If you can't think of one of these, you're going to have to take the card. Or you can replace it with one of the cards from your hand. You only have so many cards in your hand, so this can only be done so many times. And if you're forced to take one because you can't think of it, so if we run out, I can't do ketchup, mayonnaise, mustard, and hot sauce, and whatever, then you'll have to take all the cards of there as penalty cards. You don't want penalty cards. Now, sometimes people can get very pedantic. For example, every sauce or condiment here, I could go and say, well, I start naming all the hot sauces I know. Scorned Woman, The Bomb. And after a while, people might say, hey, I'll allow it. Everyone has a card like this, but watch yourself, counselor. Because, again, it's technically correct, but that's not the spirit. And if you do it again, you flip it over, you're out of order, and you'll be forced to take the cards. Also, if you have something that meets 2 categories, everything that's orange and every fictional cat, perhaps I'll say Heathcliff here, or Garfield, they both work. And if you do that, you can get rid of one of your penalty cards. You'll draw another card from the main deck, and now there's 3 cards on the table. Until someone messes up, then it will go back down to 2. And that's the game. You're just going to keep going on until all the cards are gone from this pile, and whoever has the fewest cards wins. There are a few problems with Everything Ever. I really like the concept of this game. It is a lot of fun to play. But the 10-second time limit and the rule book's kind of like, you should probably enforce this if you want or whatever. No! Because if you don't enforce it, this game can go on for a really long time. It's honestly too long, and it's also not really a game. Yes, the game is don't take a card, but if people play the cards and they're like, be careful playing those cards, yeah, play the cards, right? You're going to play the cards, and eventually the stack is big, and whoever takes that stack, they don't have a chance to come back, really. There are some neat things about naming something that meets both cards. I thought that was pretty clever. But I do like the categories. I think the categories are great. I think it's a fun experience. It's also like good for a car ride. You sit in the car, you pull these out, and you just go around the car naming it until someone can't name one. That sort of thing is fun, and they did a great selection on the categories here. It's always a big thing of a party game. What did you pick for the categories? I think the art is really nice. And so this one is close for me. It's a 6.5. I can't really recommend it because I don't think the game itself is amazing or fantastic, but I can see people just pulling out, sit around and just guess these categories. Also, that card, I'll allow it, but watch yourself. We want to use that in other games. But anyway, that's Everything Ever. Deduckto, a deduction game for kids. Now, this is from Gamewright. Gamewright makes a lot of great games for kids. And in Deduckto, you have a card everyone else sees except you, and you're trying to figure out what that card is. In this game, players are going to have 5 cards in their hand, and then you're going to have 1 card in your hand, a 6th card, but it's facing everyone else. This card is your suspect. Now, your suspect is going to be one of these 7 animals, have one of these 7 disguises, and be at one of 7 different locations. So simultaneously, everybody is going to give a card to the person on their left that matches one of the things that person has on their card, because you can see everyone else's card. So maybe this card is given to me. I put this in a yes pile in front of me. So now I know that I either have a dog, a hat, or the green background. On a player's turn, they'll simply play something. So I might say, all right, is this fox? A yes or a no? And then they'll say yes. Now, does that mean that I have the hat in my hand? No, it could have been the dog, and maybe now this is the correct background. And then you'll draw another card. So maybe the next turn I'll say, is this it? And they'll say no. So now I know it has neither a cat, neither a mask, or neither the desert background. Either way, at some point I might guess. When you guess, if you're correct, you win the game. If you're incorrect, you have to turn one of your yes or no piles over. That's essentially to show you that when you guess wrong the third time, you're eliminated from the game. But if you guess correctly, you win the game. There is no duplicate things in this deck, as a side note. So there's all the different combinations, but there is not a pig with a wig more than once. So there's one pig with a wig in here. So you're not ever going to have two pig with the wigs, and the backgrounds are different, which helps with the deduction aspect of it. Artwork, of course, done by the very, very good Quancho Mori. Like I said, the artwork is fantastic in this game, and I'm a huge fan of deduction games for kids. I think I'm a huge fan of deduction games in general. I think we should work on that part of our brain. One of my daughters right now is going through geometry, and I told her the most important part about geometry is it teaches you to think logically. This game works really well. I really enjoyed it. I was playing with my son and just watching his brain sit there and go, well, these are in the yes column, this is in the no, so therefore this is the way it is. Yes! Any game that does that, and it's a fun game, it's a thinking game, and it works well for kids, looks great. So I like this one a lot for kids. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Kids Table Board Games makes a lot of really beautiful games, and Diced Veggies is no exception. This reminds me of that viral video where they were chopping up dice and vegetables into dice. This has that same kind of aspect. You're going to roll a bunch of dice and then chop off pieces of them to form delicious dishes. And I mean delicious. Players are going to be rolling these dice, which are different ingredients, into this square box. Let me get them all in here. Once they're all in there, you'll push them all down like this, and then you're going to kind of snap this into place by a corner, and then you have a grid. By the way, that's very, very satisfying to do. And then players are going to take turns. Players will have a couple recipes in front of them. Each recipe needs ingredients. For example, these fajitas need 2 onions and 2 peppers, while these Vietnamese fresh rolls need an onion, a mushroom, and a carrot. So on your turn, you are going to take this butcher knife and you're going to cut off some dice, but your dice total can't be more than 10. So if this was me, perhaps I would take these 3 dice here and push them aside. I now have these 3 dice in front of me. I can't complete these Vietnamese fresh rolls yet, but I'm close. Actually, I can complete them because I have this token, and I could turn this one into anything I want. If you do complete something, you'll take it and put it face up in front of you and get the points. Either way, at the end of your turn, you're also going to draw a card. You can draw another recipe if you complete one, and you can have 2 recipes in front of you, or you can draw these hype cards. If you have a hype card, you can play it when you do a recipe if you complete the requirements. Like this one says, must discard 1 vegetable before cooking. So if I did that, I would just put it with the recipe. The recipe is now going to be worth more points. And there's various hype cards. You can have up 2 of them. All the numbers must be different. Before cooking, you must discard a 5 or a 6. All the numbers have to be 2s. You don't have to have any dice left over. I also want to show you some more of these recipes because the recipes are fantastic. This game will 100% make you hungry. I mean, delicious, delicious. Shepherd's pie is the best. Anyhow, if at any point on a player's turn, there's a color that's missing from here. So let's say maybe all the green dice are gone. At that point, you can take all the dice, including discard dice, throw them back in here, shake it around. It won't be full, but you'll keep playing and you get a chance to take more dice. When a certain number of recipes are done, the game will end, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Dice Veggies is the type of game that you're going to sit around and you're going to chit-chat and do things while you play because there's not a lot of thought that goes into the game. Since you can only cut off 10 or less pips when you're cutting off stuff from the board, there's not a lot of clever things you can do. You're going to look and say, here's the colors I need. I'm going to cut them off. I do like the fact that that token that I mentioned that can change the color, can also change a number of dice as you're playing them. you get it back every time the dice are re-rolled. So you might as well use it, and it's going to let you finish dishes. And then those hype cards, like, I get to do something extra, and that's cool. Part of the fun here is you're going to talk when you play this game about these dishes. You'll be like, I never heard of that, but it looks good. Or, wow, I forgot about this dish. I really like this. They did a good job. Every dish is different. And the artwork, of course, as with all kids' table board games, is fantastic. The thing about the game is, though, it's very mild. I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10 because I enjoy it. But this is the kind of game that I would bring if we have a couple over and we just all want to sit back and kind of play. You're chopping dice, but you're talking because there isn't a lot of super strategic decisions to make. You just do that. You re-roll dice. There's like a satisfaction of playing this game between the food and completing things. And this is the kind of game that honestly should be sold at Walmart and big box stores because this is the kind of game anyone can get into and easily play. So that's Diced Veggies. When I was a kid, I was a stamp collector, and so this one has some appeal to me. Penny Black, based on the very first postage stamp ever made, the Penny Black. This game here has a bit of a heft to it because there's some really great pieces inside this. A lot of plastic stamps. Let me show you. Each player in this game is going to get a very nice stamp album. Look at that thing. You'll have it in front of you. You're going to be placing stars on the star spots. Players are going to get 3 cards of each color, and they're going to pick 2 of them. This is how you'll score on each of your 2 pages. You'll put a white and a black card next to each page. You'll have boards in the middle of the table equal to the number of players plus 1. You'll be drawing stamps from a very large bag of plastic stamps, putting 3 on each board. Unless you draw a penny black, then that's the only thing on a board. Starting from the first player, each person's going to take all the stamps on one board. Your first stamp on a page has to cover a green spot exactly. And after that, they just have to go adjacent. If you cover a star, you get to keep that star. And you can use stars for different bonuses, drawing stamps, unsticking a stamp, buying a penny black straight from the bag. You don't have to, they have to be adjacent. They have to be in the correct orientation. They can be like this if you want to. And you're just going to be putting that there trying to meet your goals. Like this says, every set of 2 purple 2-cent stamps scores 3 points. Well, I got 1. I would need to get another one. Now I got 3 points on this board. So you're going to score for your cards. Like this one says, choose a color, and then each corner with a stamp of that color gets 3 points. You also will score 4 penny blacks. When there's a penny black on a board, it's going to score 2 times the number of the color that touches it the most. So here there's 2 greens touching it. So that would score me 4 points. At the end of a round, there's going to be 1 board left over with 3 stamps on it. Those 3 stamps are spread out amongst the other ones. You'll draw more stamps to cover up the different spots on the boards, and you start another round. There's only 10 rounds. By the way, look at this piece. It's a stamper. 10 rounds. Start player changes each round. At the end of the rounds, you score for your points. Whoever has the most is the winner. Penny Black is a simple game, very easy to play. This is one that I just really would like to see more people just grab it and play it because it is that simple. This is the kind of game that if I was going to give someone a gift of a game, I might give it to them because it's not very complex. I mean, these 10 rounds go fast. If you take 3 stamps each round, you'll have 30 stamps. You probably won't win, though, so you need to take a couple penny blacks when they show up. And, I mean, the only negative thing I can say about the game is if you play with going first is a huge advantage in this game, and so someone's going to get to go first and everyone else unless you play 2-player. In a 4-player game, 2 people get to go first 3 times. That's a minor thing. But wow, this is a looker. It feels good. The stamps look great. It really brought back nostalgia for me as I'm putting out these different stamps and placing them in front of me. They're different sizes. There's just a lot of cool aspects to this game. Again, it's not particularly strategic. You pick your cards at the beginning, and they say you want yellow stamps. So you take yellow stamps. And if you don't have yellow stamps, your other page wants green stamps. So then you take green stamps. And then as you put the stamps out, you put them in kind of the most logical positions. But that's okay. That's fun. And so this one I'm giving a 7 out of 10. I think it's a great one to bring out for people who don't play a lot of games. This would be one I enjoy. And I think stamp collectors will have a good time looking at this. If you know someone who likes stamps, this is kind of almost a perfect gift to get them because even if they're not a big board game fan, they might enjoy this one. And I think it's pretty easy to play. That's Penny Black. Monopoly Scrabble. Yes. Now, this is one of those things that when I first heard it announced, I thought, this must be a joke. And we played it. And, well, it is a joke, but not in the way that I think they were intending. Let's take a look. So this game is half Monopoly, half Scrabble. If you're confused, the rulebook actually shows you which section is which, and okay, thanks. You'll have your playing piece here. There's no dice. Instead, you have a tile, a little tray here full of Scrabble tiles, and on your turn, you are going to build a word. So let's say I make the word toy here. I'll put it here, and then you play Scrabble rules, connecting words like that. You can use letters from a tray that everyone has over here if you pay enough money. You'll count the score of your word. In this case, it's 6. I then move 6 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I draw a chance card. This chance card says, take the yellow color group. That's right, folks. They didn't even bother naming the color groups. They're just yellow and red and orange. Now, I'll take the yellow color group, because as you'll notice, there's only one yellow space. There's tons of chance and community chess here because they hate humans. But if you take this, well, if someone lands on it, they have to pay you money. But they don't have to land on it because they don't have to make the word that lands on it. But yeah, anyway, if someone else gets a card that says take this yellow group, guess what? They're just going to take it from you. So keep that in mind. And that's the game. You're just going to be building Scrabble words and going around the board. You're eventually going to run out of this garbage paper money because there's not enough in the game if you play with enough players. Also, they added free parking to the game. If you land on free parking, you get all the money that's there. All the money you have to pay for whatever reason goes to free parking. Hey, there is a bingo rule. You'll get $1,000 if you play all the tiles from your card. Also, if you go to jail, when you go there, you just have to pay $100 to get out. So this is going to keep going. The game's going to end when all the letters come from the bag, or if there's no more things that people can play. So you're going to have to pay for each of your tiles left over at the end of the game, the ones you don't spend, $100 each, and then whoever has the most points is the winner. There's some other rules, but who cares? Come on. Come on. Okay, so I recently saw a post online where someone bragged about being part of this, and I felt so bad for them because this is absolutely dreadful. Monopoly Scrabble, this is not a case of, ooh, you got your chocolate and my peanut butter. Oh, you got my peanut butter and my chocolate. No, this is, oh, you got your garbage and my slime, and I got my slime and your garbage. Now, before I get yelled at here, I know there's a lot of people who love Scrabble. It is not one of my favorite games, but I get the people who enjoy it. And I also understand Monopoly is the most popular game in the world. Again, not necessarily my cup of tea, but I get why people enjoy it. I just can't see why any fans of either of those games will like this. If you're a big fan of Scrabble, you're going to hate this because you're not trying to build words and stuff. You're just trying to build any word that gets you on a space that's good and not bad. And so the Scrabble part of this is not that interesting to you. If you're a Monopoly fan, you'll hate this because all the cool things about Monopoly, the trading, it's gone. The rolling of the dice, it's gone. You have to build words, and guess what? You have a property there, almost no one's ever going to land on it. The only time they're going to land on it is with these wildly insane, crazy, random chance and community chess cards. You might as well land on one because it's probably good, but if it's not good, then, well, life goes on. And how can Scrabble be random? I mean, it's random letters that you get, but oh my word, this is terrible. And free parking is a rule that is not in Monopoly. People all over the world play it because it got started, and some people like the game, but it is objectively makes Monopoly worse. It lengthens the game, adds more money in the game. And yet, the company themselves was like, let's put it in. People like it. Why? Why? I hate this game so much. I hate it with a passion. The components are terrible. Well, I mean, they always are. I mean, we're talking Hasbro. Always has really bad stuff here, and winning moves. Hasbro just terrible combination for this particular game. But I don't see the audience for this at all. I am definitely the opposite of the audience. I'm giving this a 1 out of 10 because I think the game is that bad, and I don't think anybody should play this or buy it. Monopoly Scrabble, come on, come on. Oh well, don't get it. And that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Some of these games are great. One of them, actively terrible. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching 7 Quick Game Reviews on the Dice Tower.